Look, real talk? Now that the dust has settled, we need to have a discussion about a certain film from a certain non-Disney animated film company that is a sequel to a certain awesome movie from that same certain company that has gotten a certain reaction lately all over social media. If you didn't see the title of this video, you would have already guessed that it was about Megamind. Don't lie, you know you would have seen it coming. Now, for those of you who have been living under a rock for the last 2 years or so, the DreamWorks movie from 2010, Megamind, recently had a direct-to-streaming sequel announced for it, Megamind vs. the Dune Syndicate, which will also double as a pilot for the new series, Megamind Rules. And in case you set up shop under that rock for the last 15 years, Megamind was the movie about a super intelligent alien whom society branded as a supervillain, but when he defeats his superhero counterpart, has an identity crisis and tries to make a return to the norm by creating a new superhero to fight, he realizes that things like superpowers, childhood, public perception, and appearances don't make you who you are. At the time it was tragically slept on, but it has since gained a massive following as a sleeper hit, to the point where someone at DreamWorks must have finally had some sense knocked into them and decided to try and make it into a proper franchise. Then it was announced, and reception has been... yeah. So before I get ahead of myself, let's establish what we got first before we cross-reference with what we wanted and highlight the flaw in public reasoning. He said as if public reasoning isn't a massive oxymoron. What we have here is a sequel that is very clearly lower quality in animation and writing, hired none of the original voice cast from the first film, and is being put directly to a streaming service that nobody uses. No, the other one. No, the other one. We might need to have a talk about this whole streaming thing. Yes, that one, thank you. And predictably, the entire universe threw an entitled temper tantrum and refused to have anything to do with this sequel or the ensuing series, despite the fact that a good portion, if not the entirety of these people, are not only not customers of Peacock, but probably aren't subscribed to any streaming service of any kind. So, as is common, almost a societal expectation at this point, the world is angry over something it showed minimal interest in to begin with, didn't give the support required to earn this outrage, and isn't even in a position to properly judge the situation in the first place, let alone do so without bias. In short, I'm calling out the spoiled babies who spit out their binkies and then suddenly want it back, but now they hate it because it's covered in schmutz. So look, Megamind is a masterpiece, according to the vast majority of people, and I think it's pretty difficult by now to argue against that. But it's been almost 15 years since the movie was released, and all we got in that time was a short film, which was pretty good, honestly, and a few mediocre movie tie-in games. The desire, the craving, the urge for more Megamind content is totally understandable. And when you wait that long for something you like that much and are given something lower quality than what you were expecting, it's a disappointment. I get that. But like I said before, a couple of times, in a couple different ways, this movie didn't get its proper due when it first came out. So if it had the kind of popularity that warrants your behavior earlier, you'd be a little more justified. Another huge point that is worth talking about is that this movie, because of its less than stellar reception at the time, is not often seen as one of the heavy hitters of DreamWorks' lineup. The big four, of course, being Shrek, Madagascar, How to Train Your Dragon, and Kung Fu Panda. All of these movies received big-budget, box office-dominating sequels, whether they deserve them or not, along with masses of short films, TV shows, and video game spin-offs. But not Megamind. All it's getting is a low-quality series. You know what else got a low-quality series? Monsters vs. Aliens. Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Home. Abominable. Frickin' Turbo! All these would-be franchises had two things in common. One, they all received low-quality, low-grade, mediocre-at-best TV or streaming series to squeeze whatever desperate make-back-the-budget juice they could from a franchise that was ostensibly DOA. Two, they were all either critical targets, commercial failures, or both. And on the flip side, we have TV show spin-offs of the Big Four, what with the Penguins of Madagascar, Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness, and Dragons Riders of Berk, etc., achieving the bare minimum required to reach the status of existence. And hell, DreamWorks movies sometimes get nothing even though they deserve better. Rise of the Guardians didn't get jack shit, and according to Rotten Tomatoes, its critical score is 1% higher than Megamind. And I quite like that movie. Another! Now, before you type your knee-jerk commentary on my video as a continuation of your resentful tirade against DreamWorks et al. For their apparent betrayal and my evident shilling of a product you don't like, send me that bill, Jeff! Megamind doesn't fall into either of these two categories of either commercial or critical misfortune. But the sad fact is that it doesn't stand with the Big Four either. Do I think it deserves to? Yes. Do you think it deserves to? You've made that abundantly clear. But DreamWorks doesn't. So in your indignant squawking, maybe you should have scolded the powers that be for not giving Megamind the Shrek treatment. Because God knows there are plenty of movies that got the Shrek treatment but didn't deserve it. Including fucking Shrek. At this point, you're probably thinking with that sliver of malicious optimism, hey, remember when the whole world bullied an entire film studio into changing Sonic's design in the live action? Yeah, first of all, tough guy, that was a publicity stunt and we all know it, so you didn't bully anyone. And even if you did, it was the highly overworked and criminally undervalued CGI animators at Paramount who don't get paid nearly enough to deal with your huffy fanboy shenanigans. Second of all, it's a little late for that noise. The series is already out, the CGI quality, or lack thereof, is here to stay, so if you want it changed, pray to whatever higher power you throw yourself on the mercy of that they improve it in season 2, and if they don't, keep praying to that same arbitrary higher power that the show doesn't see a season 3. And third of all, budget or not, have you ever considered that Will Ferrell, Tina Fey, or David Cross simply don't want to return to the franchise? After all that praise you heaped at the movie for its portrayal of a villain that feels entitled to the affection of others, you're really gonna strut around on the internet town square thinking you're entitled to the services of certain voice actors? Get real, chump.
By the way, I should probably bring up the last time everyone shit their collective pants over an animated movie that no one ever said was a proper sequel that turned out to only exist as a pilot to an animated series that was unfairly graded like a proper film in its own franchise. You and I both know you threw the same shit fit then that you're throwing now.
So, just to conclude, chill! Look, I get it. Megamind subverted expectations, provided great laughs and cool action scenes, turned the superhero trope on its head in an interesting and thought-provoking way that makes us rethink what it means to be a superhero while also respecting the genre in a way that makes us comfortable with the environment, characters, tropes, and cues that we all know and love, gives us a villain that portrays the incel nice guy type in the transactional, conditional, manipulative way it needs and deserves to be portrayed, reminds us all that destiny is not our own and not set in stone for us, has great visuals, a killer soundtrack, and perhaps, no, most assuredly, the coldest entrance in the history of the genre that slaps us in the face with the fact that Iron Man, Thor, and Black Panther don't even come close to Megamind in terms of showmanship. And no, this new sequel and subsequent series won't come within 10 million miles of that. But for what it is, and for what DreamWorks thinks of the franchise, does it really have to? Now, like any normal human being in modern society, I don't have a subscription to Peacock, so maybe I'm not in a position to judge it properly either. But would you like me to tell you what I think might happen? Alrighty then! At worst, it'll be so bland and ineffectual that it'll fade into obscurity and be relegated to the haunted depth shores of nerd channels like Star Wars Theory, where the echoes of I Told You So will roll across the landscape and reverberate off the mountains and through the valleys amid the screechy, whiny seagull cries of woke. And at best, it will subvert our expectations. Yeah, I know you see what I did there, I know you do. At best, it'll be an ostensibly low-budget continuation of the Megamind franchise that still has solid writing and characterization that stays faithful to and makes fun of the superhero tropes we all remember the same way the original did. Does the trailer look like the entire series was written poorly? Sure, but better products have had worse advertising. I like the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr., go to hell. And meeting in the middle, it'll just be okay. Any way you look at it, there's not going to be much reason to dread it just because it's not going to live up to our overinflated expectations, and there's no reason to give it the critical mauling out of bitterness that it could never do so. No matter how it ends up doing, there will still be an audience there to consume it, no matter how small or cult-like it might be. You saw what I did there as well, don't lie to me. And these people will end up enjoying it anyway. That is to say, you might not like it, but someone will.
So leave people alone about it.
In any case, I don't think we have too much to worry about. We can always hope that DreamWorks saw the writing on the wall and decided they could new coke this whole fiasco and put real work into a real Megamind sequel with the animation, writing, and voice acting quality we all remember. Or they can do what all corporations do and not give a damn. It's their call, really. But at the end of the day, there is one good thing about this new Megamind series that I think we can all agree on. No series can truly be terrible with a theme song that goes this hard. Take it away, Adam.